Just stop for a second and consider how much we humans are tied to the cycles of light. However, in modern society, we just turn on the lights when it gets dark outside and then we just keep going. Or at least those of you who doesn't get sleepy at 10 p.m. like I do, you can carry on into the night if you so wish. In the Middle Ages though, the options weren't quite the same. So in today's video, we will look into the subject of lighting because it's one that we take for granted. How can you make the most of lighting in your fantasy setting? Let's get into it. Hi guys, my name is Jesper and welcome to the Fane of Fantasy. This channel is all about giving you inspiration to master your craft and create fantasy that will truly immerse your audience. Lighting in the Middle Ages was varied and it can probably be debated how useful their light sources truly were. There was the sun, of course, but without any means to store the energy it produced, their only options were things like fireplaces, torches, oil lamps, candles, and so forth. If you look at the movies and television series like Game of Thrones, The Lord of the Rings, or even medieval themed ones like Braveheart, the way they handle lighting will influence how we believe reality to have been like back then. But is what they're showing close to the truth, or is it the pure Hollywood fabrications? I think we should begin this little exploration into lighting in the medieval times with the tale of torches. This is a staple of nearly every single Hollywood production. There is torches everywhere. While torches were certainly used now and then, they were not in use as much as you might think from watching Hollywood productions. One of the biggest problems in describing a medieval torch is that none have appeared to have survived. I guess they all burned. Pun fully intended there. Anyway, given the level of technology, torches of this period in Europe was often constructed of basswood fiber rope until the introduction of hemp rope during the 13th century. I guess they would tie a complex knot, much like a Turk's head, on top of a wood handle and then cover it in resin or wax. However, most torches would not be able to burn for more than an hour, which pretty much rules out the stereotypical depiction of them lining the walls of castles to provide light. Not to mention the small issue of smoke, or how about the very high flames they produce? Quite dangerous to have inside, I would say. Movies are also full of mobs carrying torches or people using torches to light their way. But in fact, torches do not really provide much light. It can certainly help light the area immediately around you, but it's not all that great for seeing more than a few feet ahead. In truth, if you were outside, I bet that you would be better off using the moonlight than using any torches. If we move away from Europe for a bit and to it's not entirely on the other side of the earth, but into Alaska. Here the natives used animal oil like seal oil with twisted moss or cotton grass and put it into lamps, and these devices were preferred over torches because torches burned too quickly. A seal oil lamp could probably burn for several hours, so you can understand the preference. In fact, animal fat played an important role in medieval lighting, as it was used to produce tallow. And tallow was one of the most widely used ingredients in creating medieval candles. Essentially, bits of the fat were boiled down into a liquid and when cooled would harden into a creamy white solid substance, and as a result you would have candles. Well, okay, there's more parts to the process than that, but you get the gist of it, right? Artificial light was pretty expensive to produce though, so people would make the most of daylight and get up really early in the morning. As an aside, I find this quite interesting too, since it also challenges what we are taking for granted, and that is how people wouldn't wear anything at night when they were sleeping. Clothing was too valuable to have an extra set just for sleeping, and I just love when the mundane like this and what we in today's age automatically believe to be true is in fact not. The same can be said for these candles. In medieval times, the wick didn't burn down by itself like it does today. So if you just left the candle alone, the flame would get lower and lower and lower and lower because of the extra wick sticking up. You had to go and trim the candle regularly to keep the flame burning properly. Also, candles were so important to medieval people that often servants and workers were paid in candles for at least part of their payment. How is this sort of payment for inspiration for your fantasy setting? I actually don't think that most of us is even considering stuff like this in our worlds. Do you? Let us know in the comment section below if you have any cool tips on different types of currency. I mean, have you ever used something like candles, for example? I would love to hear from you, and I'm sure others would love some inspiration on this topic too. Before moving into some ideas that you can steal for your own fantasy setting, I just wanted to take a moment to appreciate the support that I'm getting over on Patreon. There is a link right here on the screen and also in the description field below. The support allows me to focus on producing better and better quality for you guys, so it does mean a great deal. So thank you. Okay, let's see. A few ideas. What if someone had to perform a certain task before a time was up and a candle was used as the clock? However, they forgot to trim the wick so it didn't burn constant. Wait, I guess that would only give the individual more time, wouldn't it? Bad idea, that's a bad idea. Let's do something else. We are talking fantasy settings here, right? So you could invent a solution for a light source that goes far beyond the common tropes of Hollywood. I mean, you could tie in a new light source with your magic system. Perhaps when anyone uses magic, it drains off all the surrounding light. I always love limitations when it comes to magic. It makes it so much more interesting, don't you think? It could also be some kind of creature. A creature that emulates light, but to catch one, you would have to traverse a particularly dangerous part of the forest. Or let's twist that one on its head. Perhaps this creature is in fact a plenty, but it's also a predator. So everyone actually wants to live in darkness. I like that. So if you saw light approaching, it means trouble. That's really a new spin on darkness being the safe zone instead of light. What do you say? Feel free to share some more ideas in the comment section below. And if you like this video, hit the like button and share it with a friend too. By the end of this week, in fact this Sunday, if my memory is not playing any tricks on me, Degradation Book 2 in the Keystone Bone trilogy will release. There is a free behind the scenes look if you click the place on the YouTube banner here where it reads exclusive download. Also, a little secret just between you and me. If you follow me on Twitter, I will treat you back with the link to where you can download a copy of Desolation Book 1 in the trilogy for free. Don't tell anybody. If this is your first time watching Fan of Fantasy, then I hope you will subscribe, as there is new fantasy content every single week. Stay safe out there and see you next Monday.